We are live.
Thank you. Do we have your permission to start? Thank you, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Tug of Woods, I, Alhar Satre, would like to welcome you all to the 14th debate series of this forum, powered by Nibs and Inks and India Pen Show. The seeds of this forum were sown in June 2020 in the passion and determination of a few youngsters who got together and decided to take it upon themselves to debate and discuss important strategic, geopolitical, and defense-related topics. And with time, this small group grew into a pan-India registered forum in which youngsters from all across the country participate in various debates and discussions. And with that, Tug of Words formulated its mission statement, where words are ammo, knowledge is front, and debate is war. For our today's debate, we are extremely honored to have former Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Pradeep Vasant Naik, PVSM, PSM, ADC, as our chief guest. He was the 22nd Chief of Air Staff, a position he held from 31st May 2009 to 31st July 2011. Air Chief Marshal Naik has had an extensive career of 42 years, in which he has carried out multiple roles in various leadership positions. He is a recipient of the Param Vishisht Seva Medal and the Vishisht Seva Medal. He has been appointed as the Honorary ADC to the Honorable President of India. Air Chief Marshal P.V. Naik was born on 22nd July 1949 in Nagpur, Maharashtra. After completing his initial schooling from Sainik School Satara, he joined the prestigious National Defense Academy, Khadakwasla, and graduated with the 33rd course. He was later commissioned into the Indian Air Force on 21st June 1969. In his distinguished flying career, Sir has flown a variety of aircraft. After his initial training on the HAL HT2, he went on to fly the Vampire and the Hawker Hunter, and has had extensive experience of flying on all variants of the MiG-21. He was among the first 8 pilots of the Indian Air Force to convert on the MiG-23BN in the erstwhile USSR and was responsible for its induction in the IAF. He is a qualified flying instructor with vast instructional experience and a fighter combat leader from the prestigious Tactics and Air Combat Development Establishment. Besides commanding a frontline fighter squadron, he has commanded important fighter bases, namely Air Force Station Srinagar and Air Force Station Bidar. Air Force Station Bidar is where the Surya Kiran Aerobatics team of the Indian Air Force is based, and the standard of their displays bears testimony to his involvement and hard work. Apart from that, he has had numerous important staff appointments at different headquarters. He has been the Senior Air Staff Officer at Headquarters Western Air Command, the Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Central Air Command, and the Vice Chief of Air Staff prior to his appointment as the Chief of the Air Staff. He is a veteran of 2 wars, the Indo-Pak War of 1971 and the 1999 Kargil War. For his distinguished and exemplary career, he was conferred with the Vishisht Seva Medal in 2003 and the Param Vishisht Seva Medal in 2008. So, we are truly delighted, humbled, and honored to welcome you as our chief guest today. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, sir. So the topic for today's debate is, what is the most efficient way forward for aerial warfare? With that, let's watch a small video about our today's topic. Thank you. With that, I will now hand you over to Atharva Prabhu. Over to you, Atharva.
Thank you, Mallar. The world today is a constant game of surveillance. Surveillance through the eyes of hawks who are dedicated to protect their nations and, if required, strike for the same in the form of their respective air forces. Air forces are one of the most, if not the most precise and lethal forces to deal with any adversary. The world of aerial warfare is relentlessly changing as the days progress, and the world today has reached a crucial fork for enhanced furtherance of these elite forces. This brings us to today's topic. What is the most efficient way forward for aerial warfare? Today's Team A is wagering on unmanned aerial vehicles, while Team B oppose this and are of the notion that manned aerial vehicles are the way forward. Before we begin with the debate, I'd like to reiterate the rules and regulations. This debate will be conducted in two parts, the opening statement and the group discussion. Each participant will be given 3 minutes to make an opening statement. A bell will be rung at the initiation of 3 minutes, after 2.5 minutes to provide the speaker 30 seconds to make concluding statements. Speakers should stop immediately once the third bell goes off and allow others to utilize their allotted time. Participant is allowed to keep his microphone on unmute. The rest shall be on mute and listen patiently until further instructions from the moderator. There will be no interference or intervention during the opening statements, except if the moderators think it's necessary. Let us begin. Our first speaker for today is Riya Arorkar. She hails from Mumbai and is an international badminton player, national bronze medalist, and a finance student. Riya, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, Atharva. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Air Chief Marshal Pradeep Naik, sir, it's an honor to have you here with us today. So, unmanned aerial systems, as you may call it, have been called the ultimate military growth industry. Future UAVs will be more capable with higher speeds, greater ranges, and more stealth than today's systems. UAVs can be remote controlled and operated from the ground, may fly semi-autonomously, or may function entirely on their own, controlled only by artificial intelligence, and they have the potential to revolutionize warfare. As almost all ISR tasks are being carried out by drones, it's their use as unmanned combat aerial vehicles for kinetic strikes and so-called targeted killings that regularly attract headlines. While the US was the foremost operator of armed UAVs in the world for more than a decade, launching their first drone attack in 2001, today more than a dozen countries possess this technology. The UK, Israel, Pakistan, Saudi, the UAE, Egypt, Nigeria, and Turkey have all used armed UAVs to kill targets since 2015. Every military that has inducted UAVs have sought to purchase even more of them and employ them with increasing frequency. India too is not left behind in this global push. Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhaduria, in his Air Force Day speech 3 days ago, spoke about how in the future the IAF has initiated processes for developing swarm drones and hypersonic weapons. This is because armed drones are seen as a way to coerce the adversary without risking casualties. They allow humans to operate from military bases many thousands of miles away. You can afford to lose an aircraft, but not a pilot. This is extremely valuable in combating counterinsurgencies because it prevents militants from achieving their main objective, kill enough occupiers that they lose the political will to continue to fight. Plus, the lack of onboard operators allows UAVs to be used in politically sensitive areas in which the deployment of human soldiers would create too much controversy. The AFPAC situation, for example, where UAVs have been used with great success to eliminate the Al-Qaeda leadership. Even the 6th generation combat jets now in the conceptual stage may be only optionally manned. New concepts of warfare are extremely being worked upon because existing warfare platforms are becoming expensive and losses of which are becoming unsustainable. Two such evolving concepts are the mosaic warfare and distributed maritime operations. These concepts are based on using a large number of cheaper, smaller, modern warfighting equipments with limited roles. The roles would be contemporary and they would be operating during any action. This would avoid any kind of catastrophic or unsustainable loss. So in conclusion, I would say it's evident drones would be the key elements of such warfare as they have proven their combat mettle already in the 90s with Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm and Bosnia. you can envision unmanned system doing just about any mission we do today. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Riya. Our next speaker from Team B, Manned Aerial Vehicles, is Omkar Joshi, who also hails from Mumbai. He's a commerce graduate, a badminton player, and a defense aspirant. Omkar, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Atharva. Good evening, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The power of an air force is terrific when there is nothing to oppose it, says Winston Churchill. I will be speaking about manned aircraft as way forward for aerial warfare. Aircraft have historically relied on pilots because technology has been able to assess the operation of aircraft without the presence of human. The value of humans, which technology has not yet replaced, is the ability to absorb and analyze larger volumes of more diverse and ambiguous information than any machine. UAVs have a great future, increasing popularity, but no machine can replicate the human gift of discovery and situational awareness, says Air Marshal Vinod Patne, former Vice Chief of Air Staff, Indian Air Force. Today's technology is yet maturing to allow unmanned aircraft to make independent, complex judgments in an unknown environment, and so must be linked to human judgment. The data links can be denied or deceived easily. Threat of cyber attacks are more potent today. Delays in commanded guidance could be crucial as UAV data is still encrypted and interpreted by human. As it stands till date, unmanned aircrafts have flown only in uncontested airspace. As the focus shifts to the Pacific, the Air Force could be confronted by enemies in unfriendly skies. A mission UAV aren't designed to handle. A 25 most expensive programs of US Air Force, Department of Defense, none is focused on unmanned. Human pilots physically located in an aircraft still represent an infinitely more adaptable platform and are irreplaceably considering the high threat environment of future warfares. When we are discussing a future high-end conflict involving massive multi-platform air-to-air and air-to-ground operations occurring on half a continent, the challenge of substituting drones for manned platforms will be orders of magnitude more complex. Perhaps the most important characteristic of piloted aircraft is their ability to deliver weapons that can be used to attack a wide array of targets. The Scientific Advisory Board, SAB, argues that human brains control over the critical functions that are executed during combat operations and have unique abilities that we have yet to replicate in machines, and which represents a decisive advantage in combat as long as humans can think, synthesize, and comprehend faster than machines. I would like to conclude my statement by saying, even in the 21st century, we have not reached the stage where humans are freed from the responsibilities of supervising machines in war. There is not going to be a way putting this genie back in the bottle. Can you replace a US president with a computer? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Omkar. Our next speaker from Team A is Daksh Joshi, who also hails from Mumbai. He's an engineer and a rower. Daksh, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Taro. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are. Continue.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and our esteemed judge, ACM PV Naik, sir. The grandeur of our saviors of the nation in the air has been witnessed every now and then. It is graciously filled even in the thoughts, just like Captain Vikram Batra once said. Either I'll come back hoisting the tricolor or I'll come back wrapped in it, but I will be back for sure. Their acts make them the brave hearts they are, and we stand nowhere in reputation to appreciate them. The worth of the sacrifices are beyond words. For once, if we could even think or discuss paving out paths to protect our protectors, to safeguard the lives of our saviors in any way possible, then I believe it's the next best thing to be done after devoting our lives to our land. And it is for this purpose today that I, Daksh Joshi, stand in the favor of UAV being the most efficient way forward in aerial warfare. In my opinion, it is through this approach that we can prove our efficiency is not only in safeguarding, protecting and serving our motherland, but also to protect the lives of our air warriors. I would like to bring to your attention to the fact that it takes about 11 crores to train a fighter pilot and around 8 crores to train a helicopter pilot over a span of 6 to 8 years, and yet no absolute security of the life of the pilot. Also, it takes about 8 weeks to train a drone pilot, whereas it takes around 3 to 4 years to train a manned aircraft pilot. The way forward in the use of UAV brings a lot of benefits and uses other than its attacking purposes, such as reconnaissance, explosive detection, It reduces the workload on soldiers by performing routine operations and provides soldiers with energy to concentrate on high-tempo operations. Some of the gems of the UAV community include range from the Global Hawk with its 40-meter wingspan, a weight of 6,800 kg, and a price tag of $13.14 million. To the likes down of the diminutive 18-gram Black Hornet costing just $40,000. As far as the execution is concerned, a major obstacle in achieving this is the allocation of the budget for research and development of the same. This has often been pointed out by various intellectuals as well. In the words of Air Marshal N.V. Tyagi, former Deputy Chief of Air Staff, he said, although only certain countries have been able to allocate resources for research and development due to budget constraints, we can clearly see the shift in unmanned systems. Therefore, I'd like to conclude by saying it's high time we shift from hybrid warfare to hybrid campaign. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daksh. Our next speaker from Team B is Kashish Methwani. She hails from Pune, is a national pistol shooter and a biotech student. Kashish, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Atharv. Can you confirm if I'm visible and audible?
Yes, your audio visual is good. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. 2006 CIA mission to attack high-level Al-Qaeda terrorists in Pakistan. Action, dispatch of UAV and destruction of target location. Outcome, UAV struck the wrong house, killing 18 civilians. 2018, allegedly armed Iranian and Syrian UAVs enter Israel airspace. Action, severe retaliatory strikes by Israel. Outcome, both UAVs were later confirmed to be unarmed, but the damage had already been done. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kashish Methwani, and I'll be speaking in support of manned aerial vehicles. The incidents I mentioned are just a few of the many other failed drone missions or rogue wanderings that have caused civilian deaths, counterattacks, and wars. Moreover, UAVs have a much higher accident rate than manned aircraft. So a shift to complete UAV not just limits the operation, but is also inefficient. Technology is only a force multiplier. It extends your arm. That doesn't mean you cut off the hand itself. As aptly said by a former Vice Chief of Air Staff, no machine can replicate the human gift of situational awareness. Manned aircraft are uniquely equipped to defend themselves, and they have a better chance of an air-to-air kill due to the one attribute that not even the most advanced UAV will ever possess: a human being in the cockpit. Someone capable of instantly adapting, maneuvering, and defending themselves by making split-second decisions and changing strategies mid-air. UAVs aren't capable of handling the dynamic environment during a conflict. Flying in contested skies, they end up being completely defenseless targets for the most basic air defense systems. During a dogfight, they transition from so-called lethal airborne assets to defenseless targets. Besides, UAVs are susceptible to technological vulnerabilities. They consume large amounts of bandwidth. Communication delay of even 2 or 3 seconds would be lethal during combat. UAVs are also highly vulnerable to cyber attacks. Countries that manufacture UAVs components can add backdoors, which can be used later to disrupt or take over control systems. Thus, threat of cyber attack today is more potent than Al-Qaeda. Even the cost aspect is being underplayed. Cost of development and acquiring UAVs is exorbitant. War is humanity's creation and its burden. We can delegate the actions of war to machines, but we cannot transfer responsibility. And UAVs contribute in diffusing this responsibility. Overconfidence in UAV will lead to short-sighted war planning and will lower conflict thresholds. It will compel a society to take war less seriously. I would like to conclude by quoting the current Chief of Air Staff. Drones may play a role in the build-up to a conflict. However, once the conflict starts, they become susceptible to enemy action, and we cannot plan to win a war with just these. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Kashish. Our next speaker from Team A is Deval Kulkarni, who hails from Pune. He's an engineer, a sports enthusiast, and a footballer. Deval, you have the floor for 3 minutes. Deval, you're on mute. Could you please unmute yourself? Thank you.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, our esteemed judge, ACM PV Naik sir, and our fellow entrants. As Lieutenant General Jack Shahan once said, advance of technology is based on making it fit in so that you really don't even notice it. So it's part of everyday life. The prime example is unmanned aerial vehicle. It has been an exponential increase since 2001, when 90 Target and 75 RQ-2 Predators and RQ-7 Shadow were available in the market. Where 4 years later, the number has tripled, and 10 years later, there are 20,000 UAVs in active war zone. The technological advancement has been soaring high in process, from Hellfire position systems to Argus monitoring systems in UAV have surpassed the technological report analysis in past decade. The comparative sense with counterparts, UAV has showcased a statistical superiority on numerous grounds of economical background or maybe in technological background. A strategic vision covers it all. The scope of the strategic vision is broad, including small and microsystems, medium to large systems, both armed and unarmed, fixed and rotary-winged aircraft, lighter than the air, and near-to-space systems. A simple statistic can prove the example of resolution of strategic scope of development. In World War II, about 108 planes were required to strike a single target on an average. In 2001 Afghanistan war, a single UAV was destroying 4.07 targets on an average flight. The most important development of a particular has safeguarded our Air Force pilots in reference to human value. The current mass of R with the Rustam and the Indian projected drone had a test flight on 1800 hours yesterday. This clearly shows IF clearly has an inclination towards the futuristic dramatic technology of UAV. The same supersonic speed of futuristic development has a rampant increase in advancement. The difference between science fiction and science is timing. The world develops to the future of science, which will always be inevitable to progress and will be a step over for aerial combat vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deval. Our next speaker from Team B is Harshita K. Patil. She hails from Mumbai, is pursuing B.Tech, and is a former NCC cadet. Harshita, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Atharva. Audio visual check.
All good.
Okay. Once you've tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skywards. For there you've been, and there you will always long to return. This quote gives combat a very flowery face. However, that is not how things work in the real world. So what is the most efficient way forward for aerial warfare? Before I answer that question, I need everyone present here to be rapt listeners as I walk you through this hypothetical situation. Now imagine yourself to be a highly skilled military drone, or as you call it, UAV pilot. Your target ground is 1,297 nautical miles from your operational center. Ground soldiers from your troop are stuck in an ambush, and your UAV has been deployed to recognize insurgency troops and fire an air-to-ground missile. Your sortie commences with a perfect takeoff, successfully deployed to 1,230 nautical miles away. And just when you're about to save the day, you lose signal. However, your system's backup tell you that the drone did fire the missile, but without recognizing the target. So, what happens to the insurgency troops? What about your men in boots? What about the 33% civilians caught in that ambush? Feel the anxiety? Or rather, should I say, felt the defeat? A research thesis based on the international humanitarian law carried out by the Campaign to Stop Killer Robots states the potential that a system with high level of general artificial intelligence could decide that it doesn't need to follow the rules of the human operators and do what it thinks is best for its own protection. Now, this may sound like a science fiction concept in many ways, but it's not behind the realm of possible that these systems could potentially do something we don't want them to. Let's not forget that autonomous weapons cannot substitute for responsible humans. A retired US captain from the Naval War College states that when we talk about ethical combat, we should also be aware that neither criminal law nor civil law guarantees adequate accountability for individuals directly involved in the use of fully autonomous weapons. And this is definitely not the face of war we want to see in the near future. In conclusion, however modernized or advanced our technology gets, let's not forget that none of us would want mankind to be replaced by a computer screen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harshita. Our last speaker from Team A is Avni Tripathi. She hails from Delhi, is a management student, defense aspirant, and a writer. Avni, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Am I audible, Atharva?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are audible, Avni. Please go ahead.
Right. As Napoleon learned during the Great Maneuveral Warfare, the ability to know the enemy's location and his movement on the battlefield is paramount to victory. In today's environment, and even more so in tomorrow's, the ability to know more about the enemy than he knows about you may determine the outcome regardless of numerical imbalances or technological offsets. The unmanned aerial vehicle technology has continuously been evolving every day. Introduction in 1849 during the Austrian-Venice War, Russian drone equipped with nuclear warheads, we find a tremendous explosion of advanced aerial warfare technology. With over 80,000 surveillance drones and almost 2,000 attack drones being purchased all around the world in the next 10 years, the future of military operations seems destined to be fought with machines like drones instead of human lives. Drones have already changed the rules of war, providing a more efficient alternative to conventional aerial missions. Countries in the world using military combat drones and putting together $9.1 billion allocated just for purchasing new drone technology. That's really suggesting ignorance is a bliss. Lieutenant Colonel Dana A. Longino was quoted saying, "There were intelligence gaps during Desert Shield that could have been filled with increased use of UAVs. Yet the outcome of Desert Operation Storm would not have been as swift and decisive as if the Allied forces had not used these Israeli Pioneer drones." Among the novel advantages of UAV delivery systems, a few that are relatively low cost, rapid with an increased ease of penetration behind enemy lines with no risk of human life. It can go under weather, provide real-time digital information, and decreases the prisoner of war situations significantly. The US government, for one, is arguing for fewer ground troops and ideally saving more lives by implementing UAVs in the line of fire, as opposed to boots on ground. Before the introduction of low-cost drones, use of real-time aerial photography in ground operations was reserved to special forces, which increased the casualty rate. Quoting words of our former Air Chief Marshal P.V. Naik, he says it is a very good thing that something like this is happening. Instead of sending a pilot in a high-risk area, it is best to use an armed drone. The system can also be used for surprise sneak attacks. Ladies and gentlemen, we have learned about aerospace power and its application since the dawn of flight. It guides our efforts, keeps us focused on the way to victory in light of new technologies, threats, and experiences. The future is not going to be waiting for any of us, so we have to start now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Avni. Our last speaker from Team B is Anay Malik, who hails from Pune. He's an engineer, an NCC cadet, and a defense aspirant. Anay, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Atharva. Please confirm my audibility and visibility.
Yes, audiovisual is good, Anay. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Atharva. Fighting from above, the most intelligent way to protect freedom. And we fight to win. And win without knockout. Because there are no runner-ups in the war. Good evening, everyone. And I am Anay Malik, and I am speaking with the notion that manned aerial vehicles are the most efficient way for the aerial warfare. The combination of accelerated advances in computer processing speed, artificial intelligence, and conventional military weapons may quickly lead to robotic weapons capable of unleashing destruction on a scale never seen before. Based on previous growth trends, the military will likely obtain these weapons before they fully understand the consequence of their use. This lack of understanding will also be fueled by both the scientists and industries that pioneer their development and manufacture, as the professionals often feel compelled to overstate the usefulness of technology to obtain cyber competitions research funding. Even worse, their fast development could fuel a use it or lose it mentality among military and political leaders, and such a decisive really lost to enemy countries if the advantage was not received. These factors will instill overconfidence in the leadership structure regarding the abilities of their newly acquired technologies, which could lead to miscalculations when deciding whether to enter a war and to execute a war strategy. Ominously, over the past various centuries, the countries that initially pioneered a revolutionary military technology rarely used it the most efficiently compared to other opposing countries that cheaply caught up by mimicking the technology. The prime example of such scenario is the development of the tank. Although French and Britain pioneered their new military technology, Germany ultimately used it against them with great efficiency during this reign. Robotic technology is also likely to reshape war nature itself. Previous policy decisions typically held military action as the option of last resort. Being smitten with the advantages afforded by robotic weapons or weaponaries, elected officials will likely continue selling shock and awe techniques to the general public, perpetuating to the mistaken belief that war can simply be won by a large show of technological force, with the Kosovo War and the 2003 Iraq War being recent examples. I would conclude by saying the word of Indian Armed Forces: to find us, you must be good. To catch us, you must be fast. But to beat us, you must be kidding. And yes, you really can't beat them. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Apologies, sir. I was not able to catch what you were saying. Is everything all right?
May I button?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Amay was speaking too loud. There was echo. We were missing out on his. That's what I wanted to tell him.
All right, sir. Apologies for the same. Thank you, Anna, for the last. This marks the conclusion of the first phase of our debate. Before moving on to the discussion phase, a few rules of conduct. Please raise your hands if you would like to rebut or make a point. Do not speak out of turn. The moderators are continuously monitoring the screen to give equal opportunity to every speaker to make their point. Refrain from making any political, personal, or emotional remarks during the discussion phase. Keep your points concise and direct so as to provide every speaker a due chance to speak. Thank you, and let's begin with the discussion. Raise your hands for the same. All right, Kashish, please go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to start by saying it is so ironical. On one hand, you're trying to kill, and on the other hand, you're talking about saving lives. In the name of saving pilots, UAVs will be deployed by ease. Overconfidence in UAVs will reduce the threshold of war. It will increase conflict frequency and duration, which will lead to more total deaths around the world. Collateral damage from UAV attacks continues to be as high as 32%. Also, UAVs, as we've seen, are clearly a liability in contested skies. In dogfights, they become defenseless targets. I'll give you the example of Wing Commander Abhinandan Vartman. There was no comparison between the two aircraft, but the only reason he was able to survive was because he took split-second decisions and was able to adapt to the dynamic environment. Drones will not be able to do that. Also, one of the members of the opposition mentioned that we're ignoring UAVs. We are not ignoring UAVs or the technology. We are opposing a complete shift to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kashish. Deval, please answer.
I would like a minute or two for explaining the detail what all have said. My counterparts talk about psychological analysis. Well, man with me just has given a psychological analysis that says that UAV pilots are 74.8% calmer and better in performance in issues that have changed in the total 2000 decade from 2001 to 2030. Secondly, they spoke about the safety records, where in the same test it says that 88.9% of manned aerial vehicles have passed the PI safety test, where 100% of the UAVs have passed it. Secondly, they spoke about the communication rate of 1 or 2 seconds. I'm sorry, I interject. It is wrong information. It takes 0.28 milliseconds for conducting information between two nodes. That is using RLC imaging technology. Whereas in manned aerial vehicle, it takes 27 milliseconds, which is 1 millisecond faster than where UAV is 1 millisecond faster than them. Thank you.
Thank you, Deval. Harshita, would you like to counter that?
The opposition very beautifully stated a quote saying ignorance is bliss. However, the true ignorance here is when we talk about ethical warfare. So retired Captain John E. Jackson explains in an interview with The Verge that says that we need to take charge of the diplomatically and economically use of these UAVs. Otherwise, it is going to be very easy for us to say that, well, if there's a situation going down there, if there's an ambush, let's just drop in a UAV. That's not how we see the face of war to be. However, the opposition also spoke about how a lot of time is put in training pilots for manned aircrafts, which is needed, or which is rather required, because it is the cognitive and psychometric skills of the pilot that is being trained over time to take split-second decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshita. Ria, would you like to counter that?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. So talking about the combat operations of UAVs, you see, sense and avoid technology allows UAVs to detect other airborne objects and avoid them. So technology is available to automatically steer these manned aircrafts away from the ground, and so whenever the collision is detected. So this system installed in UAVs increases the safety during low altitude and nighttime flight. Plus, now you see most manned aircrafts already heavily rely on these autopilot capabilities, which resembles the same technology used to guide UAV decision-making processes. So drone technology would essentially enhance this autopilot capability by allowing the aircraft to dynamically choose choose the flight trajectories that maximize fuel efficiency. Another thing, reducing the UAV's weight by removing human pilots and decreasing fuel capacity may allow each individual craft to carry more soldiers and equipment. Hence, fewer aircraft can be on risky operations. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ria. Anay, would you like to counter that?
Thank you so much, Atharva. There were many applications about the robots and the UAVs in the combatant wars. I would like to rather take the moment to question the accountability of the robotic control actions, which is certainly unclear. If a robot is used to commit a crime war or cause an otherwise unattended loss of life, it is certainly unknown if the chain of command present at the battlefield is responsible for the actions, or if the chain of command at the robot controller location is responsible. It is also unclear if robotic controllers are legitimate targets of war. If they are, then their presence among civilian communities and the very families they live may endlessly endanger civilians. The mixing of military and civilian targets risk increased collateral damage if attacks on robotic controllers occur. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anaya. Avni, would you like to speak?
Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to point out to my counterparts the amazing human brain that they're talking about, that is equipped well enough to fly manned aircrafts and do their job better. When we're talking about UAVs, we're aiming to save such human brains. Their death is prevented by the use of UAVs. Also, the IMU technology can be used for a safer and more easier flight of drones, even in turbulence. And secondly, there is a technology called return home point, which is again used in drones, where through the system, if there is any experience of any glitches, like the battery goes down or anything, the drone is programmed by itself to return to its home point. Thank you.
Thank you, Avni. Daksh, we can have your point now.
Yeah, so I'd like to point out on the opposition talking about cost. So according to an article at BreakingDefense.com, the price of the 5th generation F-35A per unit is 98 million. For F-35B, it's 104 million. And for the F-35C, it's 116 million. This is just the cost to buy the aircraft. according to another survey according to another article from SPS Aviation, the operational cost for F-22 and F-35 is per hour is $33,000, 538 and $28,455 respectively. The A-10 costs $6,000 every hour. The F-16 costs $8,000 per hour, and the two-seater F-18 Hornet costs $10,000 per hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Daksh. Omkar, would you like to defend manned aerial vehicles here?
Yes, thank you, Atharva. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
My counterpart talked about sophisticated artificial intelligence and advanced avionics. I would like to mention an article in The Guardian states 2 military drones are crashing every month. Out of 255 crashes detailed in the report, 178 or 70% were drones being operated by US military. Vast majority were produced by General Atomics, which makes the Predators. Almost 2/3 or 64% occurred while the drone was in mid-flight, while 28% occurred at either takeoff or landing. The causes of crashes include mechanical failure, communication problems, engine failure, and pilot error. Thank you.
Thank you, Omkar. Deva, let's have your point now.
I would like to counter two parts, such as they're talking about civilian casualties and the remote switch technology and the costing. So here, when my counterpart explained the crash limits, every 1 lakh hour per flight, if you take in conclusion, 15 manned aerial vehicles have crashed and 6.4 unmanned aerial vehicles have crashed. 96% risk of pilots to die is when engine failures occur. 12.5% engine failure risk is there in a manned aerial vehicle, but only 6.8% risk is there in unmanned aerial vehicles. Wherein remote switch techniques, you can do it much faster. Then we talked about precision rate when collateral damage occurs. For your information, 96.8% precision level firing is done by Hellfire precision system used by approximately 80% of the drones in actual war zones right now. So they are way better than a manned aircraft in a civilian casualty rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Deval. Kashish, would you like to answer to that?
I would like to counter 2-3 points that the opposition team made. First is that the accident rate is much higher for UAV, which is at 0.9 per 10,000 hours, and which is way worse than manned aircrafts, which is 0.2 per 10,000 hours. Also, the cost aspect is being underplayed. UAVs come in different shapes, sizes, function, weight, and according to their capabilities, the prices are there. When you start adding technologies like sensor and relays and weapons and cargo, the price increases drastically. Global Hawk costs $220 million, and the cost of Rustum 2 UAV, which is made in India, is $206 million, which is way higher compared to manned aircrafts. More so, counter-terrorism was a point that was made by the opposition. UAVs are not efficient in it because they cause more civilian deaths. Drone strikes against militant foot soldiers does not seriously impact the overall numbers, and it potentially increases the ability to recruit locals who are enraged by these civilian deaths. And civilian deaths are an important factor when analyzing the drones program effectiveness because they are a very politically charged issues and can cause war anytime. Also, another point that I would like to mention is how wars are becoming easy with because of drones. Drone strikes have become the stuff of dinner table conversations, and there is increased reliance on warfare instead of diplomatic relations to achieve political gains. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashish. We'll now have Ria. Please go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me? Yeah. So first, I'd like to actually point out what Omkar just mentioned about crashes and all happening. He also mentioned about it happening due to mechanical and pilot error. So it's the same thing, like I can give you one example. Talk about air-to-air refueling. It plays a very vital role to extend the range of your fighter planes, as it saves the Air Force's time by enabling their players to cover vast distances without needing to land at unfriendly countries. So, but it is a very dangerous task. Imagine filling your car with gas as you're cruising down the highway, and a tanker truck is from a tanker truck that is speeding right in front of you. That's something what combat pilots have to contend with when refueling while airborne. Many accidents and deaths are caused due to this. Recently, about 2 months ago, Marine Corps F-35B jet collided with a KC-130J tanker during an air-to-air refueling operation and crashed. Over the years, Air Forces have been using manned planes to refuel nuclear armed bombers, so they could be ready to strike at a moment's notice. Such mid-air refueling operations require delicate precision. So, even a small mistake could damage both the aircrafts. So because of the rapid abilities of autonomous systems to accurately sense and adjust, they excel at such tasks and they should be made ideal for it.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you. Harshita, we'll have your point next.
Thank you, Uthar. Quote unquote, retired Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur states in an interview with Rajya Sabha TV on the program called Security Scan, where he talks about a UAV is very different from a UCAV or a UCAV, that is an unmanned combat aerial vehicle. A UAV is simply missiles being slapped on to an unmanned aerial vehicle. However, that's not the case with the UCAV. So that's when your point of the whole cost statistics come into picture. The development of UCAV is still a far-fetched thought. It's a progress. However, we are talking about modern day combat. We're not talking about arcade form of hunting. You just don't hop into the canopy, hop into the cockpit and go carry out airstrikes. There's a lot of research that happens before these activities are carried out, and precisely why it's called ISR, Intelligence Service Recon, to which UAVs can be deployed for such things, but we cannot yet put them on frontline combat. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Harshita. Now we'll have Avni speak next. Avni.
Right. So just to counter my opponents about reduced collateral damage for manned aerial vehicles. Now, traditional weapons like mines, bombs, artillery, etc., they cause way more collateral damage to people and property than the use of drones. Now, after 9/11, since US has started using drone strikes, 174 to 1,000 civilians have been killed in Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen. About 8 to 17% of all the deaths from US drones. When you compare this with the casualties of World War I, which had 40 to 67 fatalities, there is clear evidence where drones can help save the lives of innocent, as well as the defense personnel.
Thank you so much, Avni. Anay, would you like to counter that?
Thank you so much, Athro. I've seen my counterparts condemning the pilots and the fighter pilots and the safeties, but not the deaths of the civilians. One of my counterparts just before me stated that the civilians were not being attacked and not being certainly pushed towards that. I would like to share with you some incidents happened in Pakistan, which was by the United States. When America. Less than 10% of our Pakistani citizens support American UAV drones on Pakistani soil because they view the strikes as violating their national sovereignty. Even though such strikes target militants, there are threats to Pakistan's security. Not only about the militants they are doing it, but also the tribal areas, HATA, which are certainly getting. There's some evidence exists to support their view also. Violence spiked immediately following successful strikes on high-profile militants such as Abu Hasmail Zarqawi in Iraq and Mek Mohammed and Baitullah Masood in Pakistan. This observation was echoed by US Army Major General Flynn when he noted that inescapable truth assert that marry-killing insurgents usually serves the multiple enemies rather than subtract them. You can clearly see and visualize that when, as my friend has clearly stated, that a spike decision and any dogfight or any last-minute observation can be there because of the human interference, because of the human brain. Whereas the UAVs, they don't have such situations. Algorithms change themselves. Algorithms can be bombarded. Algorithms can be hacked and can be counter-used by the another predators who make the effect.
Thank you, Anay. We'll now have Daksh. Daksh, would you like to counter that?
Yeah, I like to counter the opposition on saying that the UCAV is still a long way to go. So in the first week of August 2020, the India's unmanned combat vehicle called the Ghatak, which is in collaboration with the DRDO and the Aeronautical Development Agency, is already started. It can carry about 2,000 kgs of weapon load, and with completely full and completely armed, it will be weighing at 15,000 kgs with a dry Kaveri engine, and it is due to its test flight in the next few years. Also, my opposition also mentioned that the armies usually buy drones and forget about it. So the Indian army has already bought, as we all know, Indian army is already using drones. In the near future, Indian army plans to induct 5,000 more UAVs in the next 10 years, and the Gagan Indian-based satellite is already operational enough to, with the enhancement of the StatNav signal for accurate navigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Daksh. Just one input though, I would like to mention one instance that happened in 2009, Cactus 1549, a commercial jetliner with both engines lost. It ended up in the Hudson, and the captain took the decision literally in 25 to 35 seconds of this whole instance. So we're seeing, in reality, the machine, if it was a machine, it would have been the 17th thing the machine would have done, which would have lost 180 lives online. So what is the redundancy process for UAVs in such split second decisions? Would somebody like to answer this? I'll just have Omkar first, and then we can see if anybody can answer this. Omkar.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Atharva. My counterpart just mentioned about the induction of UAVs in Indian Air Force. I would like to mention here the existence of Project Ghatak, managed by Aeronautical Development Agency and DRDO for stealth UCAV. There is little indication so far from the Indian Air Force regarding the strategical and tactical employment of UCAV. The IAF's Air Power Doctrine and Indigenization Roadmap 2016 to 2025 barely mentions UAV, which shows the concept remains at a nascent stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Omkar. Now we can have Deval. Deval, please go ahead.
Okay, countering multiple points at a time. In Afghanistan, 75% attacks were done by IEDs in 2009. With effective change of US getting UAVs and UAVs online there, 31,000 times, that is 3,100 times, was the increased rate of the UAVs in a single year, due to which counterparts were saved, many military outlets were saved. So militaries and all the defense are using UAVs more than you know. Secondly, thank you, Atharva, to get me to the point which I would like and love to reply to it. 2020 symposium with Elon Musk has given the XB-7B drone, which is approximately 20 times faster than the speed of sound. That is 20 times the sound, 15% load, which is semi-intelligent automation. In semi-intelligent automation, where the semi-AI gives the knowledge of dogfight. When they were having a dogfight in a simulation between X-37B and F-35 Lightning, the pinnacle of manned aerial combat vehicle right now, according to GSA, out of 20, 18 times in a dogfight, X-37B has won. And secondly, when it comes to the redundancy of crashing itself, or some situation comes in engine failure, it directly has a plan when it lands itself back to the prior position, or else finds the most cases ground analysis. And then the first option that comes is a manned person sitting behind taking the analysis decision on it. Secondly, it is not humanly possible. Yeah,
we'll definitely take your.
Let me just conclude. Let me just conclude the last statement. It is not humanly possible for any person to go at 20 times of speed of sound. Thank you.
Yeah, my whole point here was machines will follow algorithms at the end of the day. That split second life instinct that we have, right? How can we replicate that, right? We need to think about that as well. Harshita, we'll have you next. Harshita.
Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. The opposition stated that the whole technology fit-in scenario that they discussed all throughout their speeches. Increasing UAV usage can also increase terrorist recruiting by galvanizing foreign countries who view drone strikes as a violation of nation security and a cowardly means of fighting. Now, you and I are educated. We know what technology means. But a Kashmiri Gujjar fighting for the so-called Azadi in the Lolab Valley isn't going to know this. However, the opposition also spoke about UAVs being proxy for the humans, and humans saving them, like lives getting saved and them suffering from PTSD. However, reality check here, if you think that the pilot sitting at home and operating a drone a couple of 1,000 miles away is not going to face PTSD, that's not true. That defense personnel is intimately involved with the nature of attack, the time and days and weeks spent in planning the operation. the battle damage assessment that the pilot has to do. So there is no way that he's been cut free of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Arshita. Thank you. Now, just another question to the manned team. I feel if any one of you have heard of the Kratos XQ-58 Valkyrie, it is a drone that is supposed to be escorted for the F-35s and the F-22s in combat missions, because apparently it's not as, these aircrafts are not as trustworthy with the pilot, so they are sending in UAVs along with them. So would anyone like to counter why UAVs are being used as countermeasures for manned missions? Kashish, would you like to take over, please? Thank you. Kashish, would you like to make a point?
Before that, I would like to talk about one point that has come up a lot during the prior discussion, is the technological vulnerabilities. The UAVs are highly susceptible to cyber attacks, and we know that. Am I audible? Okay, and they can be hacked very easily, whether it's malware, backdoors, and viruses. It can be introduced in UAV hardware from anywhere in the world at any time, and that compromises the ability to execute their mission. When exploited, such vulnerabilities immediately render the entire UAV fleet useless and an outright liability. In December 2019, the Wall Street Journal reported that Iraqi militants hacked into Predator UAV communication system using Skygrabber, which is an off-shelf software produced by Russian firm. 2011 featured the first reported instance of the virus infecting classified computer system, which was used to control UAVs, despite the fact that the computer was not connected to the internet. UAV surveillance feeds had been compromised by Hezbollah militants. The militant used the videos to determine which routes Israeli troops were going to take. So, and also in UAVs, the operator has a very limited and narrow view of space. They can't adapt to the ever-changing environment.
All right. Thank you, Kashish.
Are often lost.
Yes, we get your point. Thank you so much. Now we can have Daksh. Daksh, would you like to speak?
Like to mention, according to a study at AmericanSecurityProject.org, the U.S. Air Force will train more number of drone pilots than helicopter and fighter pilots combined by the end of this decade. And also talking.
Daksh, you are on mute. Could you please unmute yourself? Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I was saying, according to a survey at AmericanSecurityProject.org, the U.S. Air Force will train more number of drone pilots combined to that of the air fighter and the helicopter pilots. And as we all know, like the Air Force has the tradition of chair flying. And before getting into an actual plane, you go on simulator. So similarly, the drone pilot, the students at a Holman begin their training in simulator base in small room jam packed with computers and monitors, and then they get their hands on the first drone. It's not they go randomly from a game to a simulator.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daksh. Now we can have Anay. Anay, would you like to counter?
Thank you so much, Atharva. I hope I'm audible clearly. Hello, Atharva. Am I audible?
Yes, Yana, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you so much. See, firstly, I would like to counter with saying when specifying the exact cost of the UAVs and the pilots presented by the counter teams. So I would like to say the cost of Rustam 2 UAV, which supposed to had a test flight yesterday and 2 years ago previously, cost 1,500 crores, whereas the cost of Tejas, India is buying for 83 units at US $7 billion, which comes as a 602 crore rupees. Plus, the cost of Rafale, undoubtedly saying, is 1,636 crore bought from the French government. As you can see, this, as the counterparts also mentioned, that UAV, the Rustam 2 UAV, is designed and developed by the Aeronautical Development Establishment of the DRDO, the aerospace major Hindustan Aeronautics and Bharat Petroleum for ISR purposes. The cost here also increase. The cost which we are having a development, we are having a counterparts. If we need weapons, if UAV is concerned, we need weapons and we need some accessories maintenance there, which is highly difficult at this scenario.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anay. Guys, we have the last 10 minutes, so keep your points concise and to the point. We'll now have Ria speak. Ria, please go ahead.
Yes, so as a lot of people have been talking about cyber attacks, I would like to say it's like a universal concept now. If it's a machine, cyber attacks are tend to happen. Let me tell you, the F-35 fleet is connected to at least 2 secure networks designed to maximize efficiency, the ALIS and the GRE. And Brigadier General Stephen Josh, director of the Air Force F-35 Integration Office, spoke about its vulnerabilities. Hackers will be able to bring down the network entirely, messing the worldwide logistics system and even endangering the ability of individual aircraft to get the much-needed spare parts. They could also introduce bad data in the GRE that could compromise the safety of a mission, shortening the range of a weapon system so that a pilot thinks he or she is safely outside the engagement zone when they are certainly not. Even the F-35 simulators that train pilots could leak data to an adversary. Flight simulators are programmed to mirror flying a real aircraft as much as possible. So data retrieved from a simulator will closely follow the data from a real F-35. F-35 pilots are fond of saying that the plane is much computer as a fighter jet. Another point I'd like to add is for enhancing the security of these drones.
We'll have a point. We'll just keep one point at a time right now because we're just coming to the end. Omkar, please, would you like to speak? Omkar.
Thank you, Atharva. My counterpart just talked about how the training of drone pilot has increased substantially. I would like to mention here the training of more drone pilots and has already led to inter-organizational conflicts and anti-sentiments. One more thing about intelligence, surveillance and recon. UTS aircrafts, which are manned, and Global Hawks, which are unmanned. UTS aircraft can fly 2 miles higher than Global Hawk. This can help too much look into the enemy territory. UT can carry 2/3 more payload and thus collect more types of intelligence on each mission. U2 generates nearly twice as much as electricity for powering onboard sensors and other equipments. Thank you.
Thank you, Omkar. I'll just like to reiterate my question again. How can you simulate instinct in UAVs? How can you make them contradict the algorithms they're supposed to follow? Can anyone answer that? Avni, would you like to say something?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Right. So my opponents made a very important point about terror organizations, getting their hands on drones and UAVs. Now, all I want to say is any weapon in the global market reaches hands that are able to pay for them. So that's how terror organizations also got hold of AK-47s. Coming to the second point, we have to work with the world in terms of technology, and if the world is shifting towards drones and UAVs in warfare situations, you cannot decide that we don't want to use them, so we're not going to use them and let everybody else, have a part to play. Now, according to data, US is set to acquire 43,000 drones by 2028. That is a figure that most of the well-developed countries in the world are also not able to match. Now, there was one very important point that came out in this time on Air Force Day, which was talking about deployment of low-cost unmanned aerial vehicles, as in swarms of them. So this has quantity also has a quality of its own. So these would be working under 3 conditions or 3 core principles of direction, distance, and separation. Ensuring separation of each UAV's payload sensor to cover a different area and avoid replication of coverage.
All right. Thank you so much, Avni. Now we'll have Harshita and then we can go with Deval next. Harshita, please go ahead.
Thank you, Atharva. The whole concept of not accepting UAVs is not the point that we're trying to make here. According to info, Johnny Jackson, a retired captain, has written in his book One Nation Under Drones that only so many variables can be programmed into a piece of software, and that's when the manned combat comes into picture. However, the whole point of not using a UAV is not about being rigid about not accepting UAVs. The technologies aren't elbowing out each other. We need to keep that in mind. It's supposed to be supported and collateral, and that's when drones are just another tool in the box. So you can use them for lidar, recon, surveillance, and when you put in aircrafts for the frontline combat, they have to be manned. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Harshita. Deval, please, would you like to speak?
Atharva, I'd like to talk to you on your same point also. I guess you misunderstood me. The SI technology, the semi-AI technology that I'm talking about, gives the manned official, the operator, is the option what to do. It doesn't decide its own self. So it is the manned operator's option what to take and what to do in this case. Secondly, I'll go back to my counterpart. Base systems and other indigenous senior systems with 92 gigahertz cameras that are 10 cameras with all over 15 kilometer radius of the all the entire craft. So it gives a vivid vision to every operator what to do or what to not. It is not a cynical view, it is not a strong view. Secondly, the talk came about of economics. Economically speaking, in one FTV5 lightning cost, I can get 22 different Predator MCQ, one high class MCQ, one not low class. In the vision of economic build-up, in the entire setup of F-35 Lightning at the whole thing first, I can set up 22 manufacturing factories of XB-17 drones which are up to come. So economical factor, you see, it is the best part of the logic. Thank you.
Thank you, Devan. Just one more question to the manned team. Crashes in the world happened due to pilot error, right? We're looking at just a 2% number of mechanical errors, and even when there are mechanical errors, 80% of the times pilots conduct sporadic errors which they would have rather not done ever in their flying career, but just happen to do once, right? So can we find some way to figure that out? Can we find some way to rectify that and support manned missions? Would anyone like to counter that? Harshita, we had Harshita. Kashish, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. So as we've realized, both have their positive and negative points, and the current technology already has automation. What we are posing is UAV. So your point, could you just repeat your last sentence? Yeah, so the errors can be reduced when you're including automation. What we're opposing is a complete shift to UAV. So automation will help you in reducing errors, and that is the way to go ahead. I would like to mention the one point. Since Obama entered, drone strikes had increased a lot, and in after Trump, it multiplied even more. Trump in March 2020 signed an executive order banning reports of drone casualty details, which is just going to add to the civilian deaths to drone strike. Laws are very ambiguous regarding civilian casualties in drone strike. So the question of accountability arises. Who do you hold accountable? The drone, the manufacturer, the operator, or the one who gave the orders for the mission? As the chain of people involved increases, the chances of holding someone accountable decreases. And it also provides.
Thank you so much.
It also provides policymakers a very convenient way to diffuse responsibilities of killing dozens of humans to UAV. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now have the last 2 points. I repeat, the last 2 points. Ria, you may go ahead, and then we'll have Omkar to conclude. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Firstly, as we've all been talking about collateral damage here, Human Rights Watch found out that civilian casualties rarely occur during planned airstrikes. And talking about collateral damage, drones can overcome these problems. You can fly them low without fearing of losing your life. You can study your target carefully of reacting in the heat of the moment. You can watch and guide the missiles all the way down. Even the substitution of missiles for bombs saves lives. You can argue over which of these counting systems to believe, but the takeaway is obvious. Drones kill a lower ratio of civilians to combatants that we've seen in any recent war. One reason to prefer drones is that when you send troops, fighting breaks out, and the longer the fighting goes on, the more innocent people die. Drones minimize the entity, wound, and the risk of infection. So just to conclude, I would say there's no doubt about whether the use of UAVs is the way forward or not, because it has already yielded results like never before. Today, it might seem impossible to see a complete dominance of UAVs, but who knew till last year schooling would take place online, or for that matter, we all would sit here and virtually debate with Naik sir's presence. So just like its efficient functioning, the approach of UAV-based warfare is inevitable.
Thank you so much, Ria. Apologies, Omkar. We'll just have Anay to conclude, and we'll take one of your questions if you would like that. Anay, would you please conclude? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Summing up the conclusion, summing up the whole discussion and the debating factor over here, as my friends and fellow mayors clearly mentioned, we're not against and nobody against that higher level technology and the introduction of the UAVs. Yes, UAV is the new way forward, but not when it takes to the frontline air warfare. UAVs can be used for ISR activities. They can be used reconnaissance for the intelligence stuff very efficiently, and it must be recommended for sure. But for last minute situations, for last split second decisions, it's only a human brain which goes at the last end. And we should not forget the high honors and the split second decisions of Flying Officer Nirmal Jat Singh Sekhon, who was awarded by the Indian Air Force to be awarded at the Param Chakra in the 1971 war. That split second decisions, that split second moments of rebuttals and moments of dogfights at end, that is only be possible by the human brains. Neither can any algorithm, neither can any machines invented by the human brains can do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anay, and thank you to everyone for having such a cordial discussion. This marks the end of the discussion round of this debate. I'd like to thank all the speakers once again. Now I'd like to hand you over to my colleague moderator, Krishna, to take this debate forward. Krishna, over to you, please. Thank you so much.
Audible?
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you, Atharva. So we have finally arrived at the junction for which every one of us was eagerly waiting for from the past few weeks. It's a rare privilege to interact with such a decorated personality with a vast experience in aviation domain.
Firstly, I don't like this word unmanned. I would prefer to call them RPVs, remotely piloted vehicles, because there's a blooming pilot over there behind. Secondly, the point I would like to make is RPVs replace manned aircraft. We fighter pilots should be out of a job, So you know which side I am already leaning towards. No, that's not the issue. Couple of things, because I have been involved closely in UAV operations during my time. I have been closely involved in air-to-air refueling operations. Somebody mentioned about the F-35 going off. These are all very critical operations. I would say we are not at the stage of technology where critical operations can be undertaken by remotely piloted vehicles at the present moment. That is point one. The second point, the basic differences between RPVs and the manned aircraft, few of them. One is, we are very impressed by the Americans, Predator and the Reaper and the whatever Global Hawk or whatever the thing is. Please remember, they've been operating against people who have no air force of their own so far. They have no opposition, no air opposition. So like it was brought out by some other people, contested airspace. Contested airspace comes in, the UAV is a goner, the RPV is a goner. I'll tell you one story, during, I think it was in Parakram, there was a time when I was in charge of UAV operations and we lost, not UAV, RPV in the western sector. He was just about 50, at night, he was just about 15 kilometers inside the border. And F-16 from the other side, Pakistan side, came and they shot him down in the middle of the night. Very, very vulnerable. The moment, you see, the problem is these guys have very little speed. Maximum speed is about 300, 400 also, I don't think they've achieved as yet, kilometers per hour. Normally they operate the smaller ones, 100 kilometers thereabouts. So although he has large endurance, if somebody is attacking him, it's very difficult for him to, come back inside your border. Ability of the UAV, the RPV. The second thing is how much payload do they carry? Somebody mentioned, I think it was Deval, about 2 tons payload the Indian things are planning. I have not seen a 2-ton payload carrying RPV. Maximum I've seen is 1 ton. Probably this is coming up, so this might. So the aircraft carries 13 tons, 14 tons, manned aircraft. So that is one difference. Second is the speeds, which I mentioned. So, like somebody mentioned about UAVs being accompanying the strike aircraft as a wingman. For that, you got to get to that speed, that technology has to develop to that speed. Aircraft go at 900,000 kilometers in enemy territory. So the RPV has to achieve that speed also in order to remain with them. I believe they've done an F-16, unmanned F-16 trial and all those things. Let's see how it develops. At the present moment, the capability is not there. Certain critical regions of warfare. A lot of mention was, a lot of speakers mentioned about ethics of war. In war, there are no ethics. About collateral damage. No collateral damage, yeah. If war has broken out and you've gone to the other side, your aim is what? Destruction of a target. It does not matter what collateral damage it causes and things like that. So collateral damage is not an issue. But there are critical technologies like nuclear, like chemical, biological. Would you like to trust a machine with this critical decision making? So that is the issue that is at stake over here. At the present, like somebody said, would you like a prime minister who's a robot? We had a prime minister. Anyway, I will not talk about that. So that is the issue. Critical decision making still remains a human endeavor. And the design of an unmanned vehicle, design of a remotely piloted vehicle is done by a man. He is fed in, the algorithms that is fed in are created by man. Now, again, the point was brought out, very well brought out by someone, I don't remember who, that in unforeseen circumstances, what does an unmanned aircraft do? Is he programmed to cater to unforeseen circumstances? No, he's not. So this is where it comes in. Cost effectiveness is very important. Now, UAVs, by and large, these RPVs, the human support system is not there. The oxygen part of it, the ejection seat part of it. The G limitation is not there on a RPV. Human limitation is about 9G maximum. So you have to design things according to that. In a UAV, in a RPV, that restriction is not there. So that is an advantage that the RPV has. There are many roles with advance of technology that the unmanned, the remotely piloted vehicles can undertake. And very, very vital roles these are also. Anti-radiation, if you want to hoop off a radar site so that you can create a corridor to let your strike pass through. So the border RPV is the best answer for that. If you have to do some close support to the army in contact near the border, RPVs are very good because they are very lethal zones. In that, a lot of pilots in many wars have lost their lives in this, aircraft as well as the pilot. So RPV is a very good thing. Static targets near the border, etc. RPV is very good. But again, what payload do you carry? You hardly some Hellfire missile somewhere and maybe half a ton or maybe a ton of load, which may not be sufficient to take on very large targets, but small targets definitely. Intelligence gathering. I think one of the ladies mentioned ISR, function of ISR, surveillance, recce, and in gathering all this. The RPV is very, very good for that. So the way forward, in my opinion, is a combination. Slowly, as artificial intelligence takes over, things come closer to the human brain. Slowly, it is, the ratios will keep increasing or decreasing. In my opinion, at least till the time we all are alive, next 20, 30 years, at least me, you all will live much longer. I do not think manned aircraft can be replaced. That is my opinion. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Combination. So with this, I come to the end of my talk. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for those praiseworthy remarks, as well as to throw some light on the topic as well. And I would like to ask a few questions on behalf of Team Tug of Words. Shall I continue?
Please do. Please.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I would like to go back in time during the 1971 war. So battlefield stories always fascinate us youngsters, and if that includes aviation, it's an icing on the cake for many of us. Considering the fact that you got commissioned into IF into the year 69, and the 71 war just commenced almost 2.5 years later, what was your perception or impression of the war in general, and flying the newly inducted MiG-21s in particular, as a young flying officer in a number 30 squadrons, which got a chance to operate on both of the fronts?
The purpose of the war was to get rid of those millions of refugees who were coming into India, because they were really bleeding us dry. And the only way to do that was the East Pakistan needed to be cut off. Plus, it suited our subsequent policies also. So that was the higher purpose. I was not a flying officer; I was a pilot officer. That rank also has gone.
Sorry,
pilot officer.
apologies.
I don't think you see the ranks at the present moment. It was the best rank because you had no responsibility and you had everybody used to forgive you. Chalo, theek hai, pilot officer hai. Now this, I was lucky enough to take part in this war, both in the eastern sector as well as the western sector. I'll just tell you a small incident. We were operating in Pathankot. Okay, and we were the air defense pilots flying MiG-21s. So we operate from on either end of the runway. There is a complex called ORP, Operational Readiness Platform. So there was a North ORP and there was a South ORP. That side was MiGs from some other squadron and this side were us. And there is no fear when you are young. Now, of course, you think 10 times before you do something. When you are young, there is no problem. So these Mirages or 104s from Pakistan used to come from the north, then pull up over Pathankot town and then turn right and attack the airbase in a dive towards the south and run away after that. So whenever the attack came from there, the warning of an attack is an air raid siren. Wow, 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 wow. So you're supposed to actually take shelter. We were in underground ORPs. and go near the blast pens in the trenches that we had dug to see what a Pakistani aircraft looks like, because you're curious. I remember one day, the scramble came for the other side, the people who were manning the north war. So we were off. So we ran. The air raid siren came and we ran this thing and hid in our tents. And 3 Mirage 3s, one after the other, they came, pulled up like that, and they were coming at us, But they actually, I don't know what they did. They strapped the runway of Pathankot with bullets. They didn't fire rockets, they didn't fire bombs, they probably didn't have guns. And it's a 30 mm high explosive bullet. They came so close to us that we were, we were repenting having come out instead of staying on the ground. So anyway, they went off. Now, when the all clear sounded, we came to know that the 2 aircraft were ordered a scramble. You know what's a scramble?
Yes, sir.
Go and take off immediately. You got to take off in 2 minutes. They had ordered a scramble. They were on the runway when they were told to hold position because these guys had already attacked. So these 2 guys on either side of the center line, they were lined up there, and 1, 2, 3 Mirages went past. Bullets. Poor chaps. After that, they didn't have the timing to, take off after that and chase them because they were already away, far away. So they came back. When these guys switched off and they had to unstrap, they had to literally be helped out of their cockpits, So these are the things that happen. And we almost got shot because we were on the other side and we were repenting. And all this. So these small stories keep happening. Many stories I have. I don't think I'll bore you with any more of them. So war is not easy. It's very good in poems and all that, which way for the ashes of your fathers and temple of your gods and all that nonsense is okay. War is very bad. You ask these people who stay in northern areas, in Punjab, Haryana and all that, one bomb, in Pathankot, when they were attacking one, they just bombed the military hospital, which is just next to the runway. You can imagine what chaos it must have caused, but we still coped. So war is bad, war is not good. And the aim of all armed forces is to prevent war, basically. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't. Because politics is also involved in them. Right. I think I'll stop there.
Thank you, sir, for those taking us back to those memory lanes. I'm sure many of us can reflect now what condition you must have faced in during the 70th war.
Articles which I have written, if you can give me your email.
Yes, sir.
About the 71 war. I think you'll find it interesting. Okay.
Yes, sir, please. So second question is regarding the short-term goals of the IAF in this decade. This decade will see the decommissioning of various older airframes like the MiG-21 Jaguars. We recently saw the MiG-27 decommission. And on the other hand, we see the induction or upgrades of many technologically superior aircrafts as well as systems along with our own varied indigenous plans. So how do you see the gear shift into a more lethal and competent force than ever before? And what are your expectations from this particular transition?
See, you have to reflect on the nature of war. What is the future war going to be like?
Right.
Future wars are going to be, very high-paced. Speed is going to be very high. Tuck, 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 tuck. There's not going to be any day or night. Everything is daylighted because of technology. There is going to be cyber war before the actual war starts. It's going to be very, very lethal. It is going to be conventional. I don't anticipate a nuclear war anywhere in the world for the time being. It is going to be very lethal because the weapons have become very, very lethal. Now, in this, what happens is you have many domains of warfare. You all know. Electronic warfare, this, that, and the other. You have to have multi-domain dominance. So for that, you have to have technology on the ground as well as in the air. So for that, the latest aircraft and systems, the 4th generation and other systems are required. At the same time, you also require a lot of low technology aircraft just to fill in the numbers, for small missions where high technology is not required. Now that area is supposed to be looked after by the Tejas, which is, MiG-21 plus. Better than MiG-21, definitely better than MiG-21. We need it in large numbers. The high technology aircraft, it depends on how much finances you have. It depends on what countries are ready to provide you, because you are not Atmanirbhar as yet. So instead of going totally Atmanirbhar and just waiting for the Tejas to improve and things like that, we have to buy aircraft from outside. And I think the government also realizes that. So the Rafales are coming in now. Only 36 of them. We actually need 120 or 140 aircraft. Now, where they'll come, how they'll come, from the inception, from the idea to receipt of the aircraft, it takes about 3 years. It takes about 5 years actually. From the signing of contract, it takes about 3 years for the aircraft to come. That is the time delay involved in, and now our aircraft are phasing out. We are very low in our numbers, as far as the Air Force is concerned. So we need to increase those numbers. How to do it? This is what is going on. Thinking is going on. I guess we'll be able to catch up in a few years' time. We missed out a few years back, a few decades back, a couple of decades back, when we didn't have the money. Our economy wasn't so strong, so we couldn't buy anything. Now that window has remained open. We have not been able to close that window. So that is why we have these guys. Plus, we were anticipating Tejas coming up and the graph would go up. The graph remains there. Then there's 126 aircraft. We thought we'll again push the graph up. They didn't come up. The MMRCA, whatever they used to call it. Instead of being there, our graph is now like this. Now slowly it is inching up. Very, very slowly. We need to inch it up definitely more. And this is not only about aircraft, it is about missiles, it's about weapon systems, it's about tanks, guns, everything. So now at least things are looking up a little bit, and slowly things are coming in, as you all know.
Yes, sir. Sir, this also reminds me of one of your interviews where you mentioned the upgradation of Mirages back in, I guess, 2010, if I'm not wrong.
It's been done.
Yes, sir.
Mirages have been upgraded, the MiG-29s have been upgraded, there's no problem.
Yes.
And I retired from the Air Force 10 years back, so don't ask me anything latest.
Yes, yes. So we also have few questions from some of our participants.
Yeah.
I guess Omkar, would you like to ask something?
Yes, sir, sure. Good evening, sir. With your permission, may I, sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, you mentioned about the use of air power along the LOC and some of the red zones in Kashmir to combat cross-border terrorism and to kill terrorists. Don't you think that this is the right time that we start exercising this concept, at least in the form of UAVs and attack choppers? As prevention is always better than cure. And what are the challenges that we may face if this is implemented? Thank you.
See, first thing we have to promulgate. J&K is not yet settled in. We are still settling it, which is Union territory, which is what and what is because the decision has been taken, Article 370 and all those, but the administration is still not caught up. So firstly, that has to be settled. Once that is settled, then we need to declare red zones, which is what I had advocated in that article of mine. Red zones means coming in. They can be stopped at 3 places: at the border, in the intermediate zone, and once they come in, then is the job of the police, etc. So these red zones must be declared from their, routes of ingress. And we publicize it for a couple of months so that no guy, even by mistake, a normal citizen goes there. The Bakarwals and, all these people. The people who take these goat herds and all those things.
Yes, sir.
They travel a lot over there. So these red zones are to ensure that even they are not there. Uske baad, whoever is there, UAVs, these RPVs need to be intensively used. Armed helicopters need to be at standby. You need to have a C-130s also with sideward guns and things like that to take on larger crowds. And these are the things we must do. And a lot of these things are happening already.
Yes, sir.
Not
Thank you, sir.
Red zone as yet.
Yes, sir.
You have blue, you shouldn't have fratricide. That is very important. That is why they scare and because they are your citizens.
Yes, sir. This is surely something the government should consider to show a zero tolerance policy towards the terrorists. So next question we have from Malar.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. Hello.
So, sir, my question was the foundation stone of the Indian Air Force Academy. It was laid today exactly. The foundation stone was laid today exactly 53 years ago, and it has come a long way since then. So, in your opinion, where do you see the training of the future pilots for the Indian Air Force going for them to adapt to this ever-changing and challenging environment of modern aerial warfare?
See, aerial warfare training is not taught at the academy. In the Air Force Academy, you do the basic training. Thereafter, you split and you go to transports, helicopters, and fighters. Air combat training is required for all three types now. Earlier it was only required for fighters. So they used to select pilots with, faster reactions, pilots with little more quicker thinking and all that, the fighters. Now you need them for helicopters also. They are also doing equally good work. You need them for transport aircraft also. These Hercules aircraft which have come and the C-17 which have come are capable of undertaking missions. So you have to rethink that in terms of trifurcation. That is, point is, a lot of years we suffered because we learnt on the job. You flew, created a mistake, maybe a screw up somewhere, and then you came and owned up, or you damaged an aircraft, things like that. We didn't have simulators. Now the simulator technology has improved so much. I think the mention was made of it by one of the speakers, that you can actually do an entire combat in a simulator. You can anticipate situations. Of course, simulator flying and actual flying is totally different. The blood, sweat and tears is actual in the actual flying. It is not there in the simulator. Although, mind you, people sweat a lot. A lot of adverse situations are given to you in a simulator also. So simulator technology is another mistake. The second thing is exercises. Because of, thanks to our present foreign policy, we are friendly with a lot of countries. So exercises with foreign air forces teaches you a lot more about the tactics and things like that they have. So more people go, more you learn. So these are 3 or 4 ways in which, plus the basic syllabus, training syllabus. Earlier we had the Kiran aircraft, now we have the Hawks aircraft. It's a very, very good aircraft. So even that makes a difference as far as the basic standard on passing out is concerned.
Thank you, sir.
So we also have one question from Nikhil. Nikhil, are you there? We'll get back to Nikhil once he joins. So we have one question from Daksh Joshi. Daksh, could you please?
Can I ask you a question if you wouldn't mind? So, would you like to share us your call sign and the story behind it?
Sorry?
Could you share your call sign and your story behind it?
My call sign?
Yes, sir.
My call sign was Buzzard 1. I saw that movie in which this Mackina's Gold, I think. There was a movie where this song is the Old Turkey Buzzard. I don't know if any of you have heard that song. I like that number quite a bit. And our squadron had birds, And I was a mere pilot also. Everybody had taken all the good call signs, Eagle, Chiggle, Ye, Wo, Vagera. So then I took the call sign Buzzard and stayed with it throughout. But of course, when I was commanding 26 squadron, I was Warrior 1. CO is always, Warrior, Arrow 1, whatever the thing is. So I was Warrior for quite some time. And a lot of my friends know me as Warrior 1 also, even now. No story, nothing big.
Thank you, sir.
Nikhil, are you able to hear us? I think we have some.
So, Nikhil may have a technical glitch. With your permission, can I present to you Nikhil's question?
Yeah, of course.
So, Nikhil wanted to ask, Was there any situation where you faced dilemma in deciding whether to follow your ethics or to follow?
Hey, you need to speak softly. I can't hear you properly. There's distortion.
Ane, if you may, please. May I?
Yeah, sir.
Speak softly.
Yes, sir.
Sir, the question goes like this.
Much better.
Was there any situation where you faced dilemma in deciding whether to follow your ethics or to follow the system? And if you faced it, then what was your best decision?
Are you talking about in flying or in life?
Sir, in flying.
No. You have no question. Your orders are clear. Like the only time I've been in operation was in 1971. After that, I have not been in any active operation, you see. In 1971, I remember a rocket attack over an airfield called Ishurdi in East Pakistan that time. So we went and we took out them few rockets here and there. There's very delightful smoke and fire and all those things. We had some more rockets left. So there was a railway yard over there, a junction, I think. It was a train junction, very big junction. And there were troop shows there. So we took out them also. That's it. No ethics involved there. Once you cross the border, there are no ethics.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you for your responses. I think we're done with the questions here. It was truly great talking to you and interacting with you, with considering all the war stories and your call scene stories, etc. So I would like to now hand over to my colleague, moderator Mallar, to take this forward. Mallar, over to you.
Thank you, Krishna. So with this, we've come to the last stage of the debate, and perhaps the most difficult one for you. I would now request you to please announce the winning team and two best speakers.
Very, very difficult job. I've got this whole sheet over here. I've been filling in a lot of things. Very good modulation, lot of logic and all those things. Very difficult. I think each one of you has spoken really well. But the winning team is Team B, who go for pilots. You see, there was emotion that side and there was technology on the other side. Cold, clinical technology on the UAV side or RPV side. And there was deep emotion on the other side. And with my inclination, allow the judge also a bit of favoritism, even in courts this happens. So the B team, which goes for pilots, manned aircraft, is the winner in my opinion, because the same situation is likely to continue for the next considerable time, 10 to 15 years, but technology develops very fast. So you never know what happens after 10 years, right? Now the most difficult decision in my opinion, 19-20 का फर्क है. I'm really telling you, there is no. So one is 85, the other is 83. Kashish Mitwani. Yeah, I think in my opinion, the voice modulation was good. There's a lot of logic. Spoke back points. There were a couple of others very, very close. Very, very close. I mean, it was just 19-20. So congratulations and very well done. Firstly, Team B, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Thank you, sir.
Kashish, congratulations for winning.
So will you please announce the second best speaker as well?
Yeah?
The second best speaker.
Oh boy. Arshita Patil. Who's the one?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's the girl. Very nice. Very, very well spoken. In fact, I would say this lad with the bandage. In fact, क्या हो गया तेरे को? What's happened to you this thing? If I may ask.
Sir, actually, I've been in a football accident a week ago. I had an entire surgery last Monday.
I think he was very close. Very close. A lot of logic. Cold logic. You're on the UAV side.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. Well done. Pretty well. In fact, each and every one of you, I'm very impressed, really. And I'd like to thank the organizers once again for giving me this opportunity to interact with such nice people. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Congratulations to Team B and the best speakers, Kashish and Harshita. a special prize will be sent to the best speakers, which is powered by Nibs and Inks and the India Bench Show. I would like to thank Air Chief Marshal Pradeep Vasant Naik for taking out time from his busy schedule and gracing us with his presence. So we are truly honored. Your views on the operations in the Indian Air Force, your experiences while you were serving, they were really, really insightful and very inspiring. And last but not the least, I would like to thank our mentors, Major Nithi CJ and Mr. Raju Koti. And with that, I would like to announce the conclusion of the 14th debate series of Tug of Words. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Malhar.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. It was really a pleasure.